It's live. All the way live.
It is.
This is
The rest of
Oh yeah, this
come
is
back
real
for
prepared.
Christmas sometime.
Oh, don't do Chris.
Right, he gonna get in.
Somebody's got to take up for your mother.
Yeah.
There we go. But I didn't know it at first.
Now, Carrie, I don't have them.
Go ahead,
That's
go on.
one. That's a
That's-
favorite.
This was for my 74th birthday from Carrie. And it says, what did you get Super T for her birthday? You see how super I am? Super T. It says, lots of love, and I like that.
The defining experience I had that made me understand that being an artist was what I wanted to be was that my kindergarten teacher kept a scrapbook of old photographs she had clipped out of magazines, Christmas cards, Valentine's cards, you know, all manner of greeting cards, advertisements, and things like that. And she kept that scrapbook, and it was something that she only made available to the kid who was best behaved that day. And if you were really well behaved, you got to look at that scrapbook while everybody else took their nap after recess. And it really was that book. It's like the day I got a chance to look at that book, it really changed my life because I sat there looking at the book. I mean, and thinking with tears in my eyes. I mean, literally with tears in my eyes, thinking that, wow, it's like this is just so amazing. You know, and that's what I want to do. You know, I want to make pictures like these. I want to make pictures that affect other people the way these pictures are affecting me.
I don't have a date on this card, but it's an early collage. It just says beautiful. And it has a black figure, black. And I remember asking Carrie, did he mean to have that spot there? But he did. And, and so that's how I began to understand the many complexities.
When I was in junior high school, I got a summer scholarship to take a drawing class at the Otis Art Institute. The drawing teacher had a book that he put on the opaque projector. It was Images of Dignity, the drawings of Charles White. And he showed us those drawings, and I had never seen anything like it before. Because prior to that, you know, almost all of the artists I'd encountered in art history books were European. I thought, wow, you know, it's like, this is just amazing. He says, well, you know, Charles White's got a studio upstairs. And he said it was okay for us to go into the studio and see some work in progress. You got to see the process. You got to see how ugly a drawing can look before it was brought to this point of refinement and finish. That was what was really interesting to me. I mean, seeing these stages. And then, yeah, let's see what happens. Well, you got nothing to lose.
The initial images, the underlying images, all come from photographs of my family in Cuba. Mm-hmm. They started about 38 and go right up to the revolution.
How do you intend to now incorporate the present moment? Is that important at all?
That's a good question. Probably a dumb thing to say, but I hadn't really thought that all the way through yet.
That's not a dumb thing to say, but it's just the kind of questions I would be interested in asking and hearing some reflection on, you know. Part of what I'm always interested in seeing when I come to the museum is not really how refined or how finished the work can be, but I'm really interested in showing, especially to my students, evidence of the artist's thinking and evidence of the artist's process. Some of what's evident in a painting like this, an unfinished painting, is that it reminds me of just how difficult making a painting is. It confirms the suspicion that I always had that these things don't come into existence by magic. I'm going to take this out partly because when you're thinking about the way to organize the painting, there's some structural considerations you have to keep in mind. This is definitely the kinds of images you're working with. They will actually tell you how to make your painting. I mean, this is essentially how I work on my stuff. I'm always referring to some other source to give me some clues to how things in my own work can be organized better. Well, what I'm doing right now is actually I'm actually doing a comic strip in newspaper form that I could use for a particular installation at the Carnegie. What I hit on as a subject was this idea that when you go to the museum to see African art, I mean, those symbolic representations of the heroes seem pretty inert. The tradition from which they come doesn't have the same kind of currency that the tradition of Greek mythological heroes has, although there are parallels between those two traditions. And so I thought what I would do would be to take those African sculptures and reanimate them, in a sense, and make them into the superheroes. To become, you know, like a new Luke Skywalker, or a new Darth Vader, or a new Batman, or a new Superman. Now, when I was growing up, reading Marvel comics, you know, the X-Men, the Mighty Hulk, Spider-Man, all of those characters were amazing characters to me. And so what I'm actually doing is kind of reverting back to my childhood, I guess. I thought what I would do with this project was to take a form that's in some ways already undervalued in America. Take a subject that's underrepresented and try to find a way in which we can carry these traditions into the future so that they don't have to just dissipate and die.